Hi, it's Matt from Pegtown Pines. This is the last of, I think it's 4 episodes of making um, hard cider. I started from the scratch, showed fermenting it and getting it all ready. I do a cheap and easy version. I use just apple juice and then I add the apple concentrate. Today we'll be kegging it. It's been in here for I let this one been in here for a while. I started this batch, I think, in January. Um, maybe it was February. I'll have to go back and look. But we fermented it. It went through 2 rackings. It gets fermented in one of these pails here, and then I transferred to another second pail to get out the sediment, and then transferred it into the glass to let it just sort of rest. Normally, I don't get a long time on them. Normally, I'm kegging it in about a month or so, but this one I was able to let go. Finally blew the last cider keg a couple weeks ago. Basically, what I do here is, for kegging it, is I transfer it from here into just a clean, sanitized pail, and then I add brown sugar. The amount of brown sugar I add really depends on what if all the alcohol's brewed out. If when I set my camera up later and I start the process, you'll see when I use my test gauge right here, if it's look like it's brewed, all the alcohol is brewed out, it won't be sweet at all. So if that's the case, I'll be adding a full 1 pound 4 ounces of brown sugar. So what I do is I stir it into this pail, the brown sugar. Because I'm kegging it, I can add the brown sugar without it fermenting, because what I'm going to do is once it goes into the keg, it'll go right in the refrigerator. I've actually seen it cook just a little before. I can usually tell by my CO2, but because it's refrigerated, it really shouldn't cook much with the sugar. You'd have to, if you were bottling this, and you were trying to get it to self-ferment, there's some charts to use to see how much sugar you'd add. I add a certain amount of sugar, and I've made a lot of batches of these, so I know what the sweetness I like. When I've had my friends sample my cider, it worked out about half of them thought it was a little sweet, and half of them thought it could have been sweeter. So I figured that's about perfect. Every batch is a little different, but not a lot. Sometimes I think it's a little sweeter than I like, and then other times it's not. Probably could just be taste. So, but I get everything out, get it all ready. Even get my charts out, write in a few. I know I'm doing how much brown sugar. I like to do it fast. I like to, once I untap everything, I like to get it in the keg as quick as I can. This keg was sanitized already. I did that a couple days ago, and then pumped all the sanitation stuff out. So it's been sitting here all ready to go. That's about it. I'm going to turn you off for now. I'll set you up on a tripod, and I'll get going here and see you in a minute. Okay, this first part's, I won't say it's hard, but if there is a hard part of this, this would be it. Getting the cider out of here. It's not really hard. It's just, I don't have a pump, an automatic pump or anything like that. So it's, I just, okay. Just an auto siphon you can buy. I think a regular hand pump would be better, or not a hand pump, but a battery pump would be a little better. Once you get it going, it's pretty easy. You just gotta be patient, and it'll be interesting. I don't double rack these often, and I've been wanting to do the double rack. Next time I double rack, I might give a little more time in between. The whole idea of double racking is to get sediment out. Sediment is what, if you're going to get any off flavors, it'd be from the sediment. But the other thing is the less sediment into this, the easier it is to do this portion of it. So the next time I will double rack, but I'll give an extra 3 days in between rackings, I think. I'll ferment it for about, I think I'm going to let it go. I think this time I only did about 7 or 8 days, but I'm going to let it go about 10 days. And then I'll rack it into a plastic, and I'll rack it into the plastic for, yeah, I'll have to go back and look at my records on this one, but I would like to rack it into the plastic for at least 2 or 3 weeks minimum until I feel all the sediments dropped out. The biggest thing is when I get down to the bottom, I'll see how much sediment's in here. That'll give me a hint how much extra time I should give. I might get down to the bottom and not find a lot of sediment. I see a little down here, but that doesn't mean it's even though it's on the sides, doesn't mean there's a lot. So basically the goal is to not get any of the sediment into the cider. And the truth is, if you get a little in, so you get a little into your keg, it'll stay on the bottom of the keg. But the more out, the better. I'm not a pro at this. I mean, I guess I should say I made quite a few batches now. This last batch lasted me a long time. I don't drink it as often, but as when I first made it, I do bring it to some of the parties and share it. But my biggest thing is I love when I'm having a burger or a steak. I love a nice glass of cider. I like beer too, but cider actually does not bother my breathing as much as beer does. So the allergies. Cider is a pretty clean product, and because I make it myself, there's no sulfites, or I know there's there's sulfates and sulfites, but some of them are natural, I believe, and some of them aren't, if I recall. I just know that a lot of winemakers use them. And maybe it's on the cheaper end or whatever, but these days probably less people are using them because everybody's more health conscious. Well, I can tell right now there's a lot less sediment than I usually get. I'd like to reduce this a little farther, but there's a lot less. So I think if I give 2-3 days after fermentation before I rack, by doing that, you'll get more of the stuff will settle to the bottom. And then as long as when you're draining it out, you'll avoid sucking it in, you'll have less. And then with the second racking, it's the same thing. And I'm going to decide how much more I want to get out of this. And that's the other thing. You don't have to be greedy with how much you get out of it. I've got, where am I? I'm at 4 1/4 gallons. I'd like to get a little bit more, but I've messed this up enough, so that's pretty good. We didn't get much sediment in. From there, I won't be using this again, so it just goes into my sink. I can get this into my sink to clean later. So what I do now is I get this up here. I don't know if it's important to cover it that much. I've never had any of my ciders contaminated, but you never know. Now what I'm doing is checking the gravity with this little tool. I think I showed you on one of my other videos checking gravity. And this, by checking gravity, shows how much sugar you cooked out of it. When you first make your batch of cider, when you're fermenting it, you take a gravity, and I was at 1.061. That was when I started. That shows how much sugar is in it. If you get back to 1.0, you've cooked all the sugar out of it. And what that does is there's a chart and it can tell you what alcohol percent. My batches are normally about 8% alcohol. I get them down to about 1. 101, really, really low. I'm going to look at this one right now. And this one is, yeah, this one's right on 1. This one's dead on 1. I don't know if you can, I don't know if you can actually get below the 1, but this one's on 1. So that makes, what that tells me is that I'm going to be, let's see, 1.00. That means I cooked all the sugar out, which means this is a full 8%. A lot of times I come in at 7.8. This one, whatever. I originally made this, I was somewhere between 11 and 12%. Way too much alcohol. At that kind of alcohol, you can only drink 1 or 2. I remember the first time I made this, it was so high alcohol, I just loved the taste of it. And I drank, I don't know, I drank 4 or 5, and I don't think I've been that drunk in a long time. It hit me so hard, being a different type of alcohol. I was going to put this thing away, but I usually do read it again. So now what I'm going to do, I'm sorry I'm off camera. Well, yeah, let's move the camera. We'll just move the camera. You have to excuse my in-house clothes. We've got some good rain days, so I didn't dress up today. Just left my morning clothes on. I don't know if I can get my full weight on this or not. Looks like I can get there. Okay, so this is 1.4 ounces as I'm shooting for. 1.4 right there. So okay, now what we do is bring you back over here to the kettle. What I want to do now is do some diluting. And I have put this in the microwave. I think I will put it into the microwave, maybe. Obviously brown sugar dissolves much better warmed up. I love having this nice big glass container for this. Okay, I'm not going to bring you off to throw this. I actually have a whisk over here that's sanitized. I just started using this big pot. The reason I love the big pot is obviously I can add more liquid. I don't think I need to microwave this today, but maybe we will just for the heck of it. Okay, put that there. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and microwave this. Not for long. We'll do 60 seconds. So what I'll be doing next is stirring in the brown sugar. And once it's happily stirred in, I'll be in kegging. I give my keg already right there. I got my tube that connects that over here that's been sanitized. Actually, have a big, this has been sanitized too for a big old stir stick. You put that in there. Once this comes out of the microwave, I'm not warming it really that much. What I'm going to do is I'll just getting it off of cold, and then I'll stir it a couple more times, and then as I pour it in, I'll just keep stirring it in. Just obviously just want to have all your brown sugar dissolved. So I said, this is I think the hardest process of the whole thing is probably siphoning the original siphon out of the glass. And they make pumps for that. If I did this all the time, I'd have pumps. But you know, I used to drink a little more of the cider and probably made it more often. You know, now I was going to say, let me go back to this. This batch was started, February 7th, so got a little over 4 months. My last batch just lasted me a long time because, like I said, just drinking it occasionally. And that's why I got it kegged. I was glad I warmed this because there was a lot of solids in the bottom. Okay, so let's just continue the process. It's nothing fast. What I do is get the stirring up. And then, I don't know, I hate to waste the sugar or anything like that. I guess we just rinse out the container a little bit, close the spigot up. I always turn it up like that. It saves me a little cleaning. Okay, we're done with that. Okay, that's into the sink. Stirring up your cider is not a bad thing to do. It gets air into the cider. I've probably already forgotten more than I learned from reading. But okay, so don't need that again. This is where I usually check the final gravity. Call it the final gravity. This is the kegged gravity. This is, now if you're someone who likes a flat cider, you wouldn't even need to do this process. You don't have to add any sugar. You could add just a little bit of sugar. Or if I've heard of other people trying to control the fermentation and stopping the fermentation early. The problem with that is, my understanding is, it's always chemicals to stop the fermentation. I make there's no chemicals. This is all whatever chemicals are in here came already in the apple juice. And this is one thing when you use apple juice, you got to make sure it's vitamin C, ascorbic acid. It's the that's what preserves this. Other preservatives, you'll have problem. You won't be able to ferment. Most apple juices have that. Now I'll go look at my other chart to see what I've got before. I'm at 1 point. Come on, it's spinning around in circles, and I might have to stop it. I'm going to say that's 1.12, or I should say 1.012. And I look back and I guess it is 1.12. 0.12. That's a slightly sweeter than my last batch by just 0.01. And who knows? I'm going to just recheck this real quick. Make sure it's... And I know what I said, and I have to pull it out and look at it. I don't think there's a... I think there's an O in there still. I always forget that when I... Luckily, I'm consistent when I write things down. Even if I miss the O, I know. Yeah. Yeah, it's 01. Yeah, I knew that, but hey, sometimes I write it wrong. Okay, put that in there. That's got to be careful. That's glass. Don't want to break that. I'm gonna just go check my chart here. And this is okay. So I filled everything in. I added 1 pound, 4 ounces of brown sugar. This is actually my 28th batch. 28th batch. I think my first few batches were small batches though. So I've been making this for, I don't know how many years now. I have all my charts. I could go back and figure out when I started, but we come to the last point here now. The cider's ready to go. All I got to do now is put I need to make sure that this is when I'm gonna put a little cleaning liquid in this whole top here. Yeah, swing it around in a little bit. I'm chemicalizing all that too. I probably need to make up another batch of this sand stuff. I got some in here. You're not supposed to use water to like rinse it. It's supposed to come, yeah, it's completely dry. This was sanitized a few days ago, so just a little bit of cleaner sediment. So we're empty it out. They say there's no flavor transfer from the sanitizer. I've never noticed it. I'm fairly good at making sure any kind of cleaning bubbles or whatever here. If you shake that cleaner up, the sanitizer up, it makes a little bit of bubble. But I make sure it's all out of there. Okay, so sanitized tube. Yeah, this is the part I probably go overkill on the sanitize. I mean, it's going right into the cooler and being kegged. So I don't know. I'm not sure. I just need to sanitize as much as I do. But, well, that's doing that. Let's see. As you can see, that's just going in there. This is my little bin over here. I had sprayed this down. They make a lube gel on this. I don't think I need it this time to help it seal better. It should be just fine. I'll bring the whole thing back over here. But so yeah, this is making hard cider from apples, from regular cider, from apple juice. It's really easy. I have made my first batch of made like an apple wine, and it turned out to be more like an apple cider. If you got inexpensive, if you got access to cheap apples, it's not a bad way to go. In season, you can buy cider sometimes cheap enough. If you find a good source where you get it cheap enough. This stuff here is, I don't know, I think these are like $2.19 or so. I've tried other brands. The Great Value actually is better than some of the other ones. If you go with a brand name, maybe you'll like it a little better. The way I look at it is I usually use 6 jugs, and sometimes I will use a little extra. There's an Indian Summer. I do buy the other brands when they're on sale. I've not noticed a big thing on the taste. And then as in my other video, I add a whole can of frozen apple juice concentrate, basically to kick the taste up a little bit. They do make flavors. You can buy artificial flavors, and I've tried them. Can't say I disliked it, but once I heard the idea of just using the concentrate, and you don't add water, you just use the concentrate. And I've been meaning to make a batch with 2 concentrates and see if it really kicked up the apple flavor, but I like my cider the way it is, so I probably won't bother. The other thing is if you do make this, or if you want to experiment it, I have added, instead of the apple concentrated, I've added cherry concentrate. If you get a cherry concentrate, you can make an apple cherry cider. That was actually pretty good. If I was making smaller batches, that would be okay, but to make a big batch, it's just too much. I don't know. I do enjoy a glass of that once in a while, but I don't want a whole keg of it. So that's why I don't make that very often, or I haven't made it. Yeah, I made it once or twice. Okay, we still have a bit in here. Usually I end up just pouring this in. I can never tell if it's going through the hose when it's going that low, so Take that off. Another thing for the sink. I don't see any sediment in here at all. Usually I see a little bit, so this extra racking does definitely help. It's supposed to help on the flavor too, because you're getting the dead yeast off quicker. I could pour this faster, but I know myself, so I'm just gonna do it the slow way. I'm trying to think what other things to mention for you. Well, that's about it. I'll show you how I keg this off and shake her around. But I think for now I'm going to shut you off. I'll bring you back in a couple minutes. Okay, we've got all the rest done. All we got to do now is put some CO2 in this. What I do is when you start your CO2, you can hear it. You do it this way, make sure this gets a good seal. And then what I do is I fill this thing up to, I set my pressure at about 30 pounds. Now, when you're ready to serve it, you're going to come down for 30 pounds, but the 30 pounds, it takes minimum of 2 days to get this thing, your whole keg, so it's the CO2's throughout the product. What you're doing is you're carbonating. This is called forced carbonation. And it takes time. Now there's ways to speed it up, and I usually do them. One of them is to shake your tank a lot. Some people will roll it on the floor. And to know if the shaking is working, while you're shaking, you check your meters. And I can see my meter dropping, which is telling me that as I'm shaking, I'm getting that air, CO2, into the apple juice. And then as soon as I stop shaking, pressure valve goes back up, because it's checking the pressure on the, I guess you'd say, in the open space. One other thing I didn't do yet, and I forgot, I'm letting out, I usually do this sooner. Basically that's letting out any bad air that could have been in there. All that pressure is going to put on it. And it's right back to 30 pounds really quickly. And that's basically, if you want to sit here if you wanted to sit here and do this for 5 minutes, you could probably be ready sooner. I don't really care, number one. It's going to take a day to cool down anyways. So I'll generally come out the second day and take a little off it and see what it tastes like. It's usually 2 days. And most times I don't even get into it for 3-4 days. So if you were in a rush, you would continue shaking this, rolling it on the floor, and it just will push the CO2 into it. But this is how you carbonate it. Now, not everybody wants carbonated cider. Some people want still cider. You'd have to YouTube that to find out the exact way to make that properly. Once you keg it, it's no longer going to be still. So you'd have to bottle it. And if you bottle it, I'm sure there's good techniques to get a still cider. And if you want it just slightly carbonated in bottle, that's when you add your sugar and let your bottles, basically, they start fermenting, and that forces its carbonation by fermentation. I choose to just do it the easy way, just add a little more brown sugar, and then get it in the refrigerator. And then, like I said, maybe I'll test it tomorrow, maybe it'll be 2 days from now. Usually the reason I test it sooner is because I don't have to leave the 30 pounds on it. Once and I got like 32 pounds, you're probably gonna go higher, but that's good enough. Once it's fermented, 3-4 days later, you can turn your keg back to, I turn mine back to right around 12 or so. I want to keep enough pressure on it to keep it fresh, and you want to keep it carbonated. You don't want it to lose the carbonation. So 12 to 4, I think 12 to 14. Those numbers you'd have to look up, and those might be specific for, I don't know if that's specific for different tastes or whatever, but 12 to 14 is usually fine for me, and I'm happy with it. But that's it. That's how simple this is. I've got, I know, like I said, I got 3 or 4 steps. I think I filmed the initial fermenting, and then I racked it, and then I racked it again, and then now I'm kegging it. So there must be 4 videos. So go back, check them out if you're interested in making this stuff. You know, I like to do it on the cheap. I don't mind using the great value apple juice. If you find you've got an apple juice you like better, if it costs more, really doesn't. I mean, this is I use 6 of these, and then I add a little of the other one. I think I figure I've got $13 or $14 in apple juice. At one point I figured it was 20 bucks to make it, but I cut off some of my stuff. I used to use some other, not chemicals, but some other additives for clearing out the sediment, and I found out it really wasn't needed because I'm not making it from apples themselves. So all I have in here is brown sugar, and so there's a few pounds of brown sugar. So and I use bread yeast. I'll show that's, I mentioned that in my fermentation. I do a lot of baking. I make pizza dough, so I have bread yeast. I buy it by the 2-pound thing because it's just cheap. If I have to throw a quarter of the 2 pounds away, it's still cheaper than buying the little bags by a ton. So usually I use a 2-pounder, and if I'm going through it, I don't have to throw any out. I've also started throwing the bags in the freezer. So, but occasionally I have an ounce or 2 left in a container, and I'm going to be doing some baking. I throw it out and start over. But it's so cheap. So the stuff I make with this brand, I'm probably at about $16, $16 to $18 a batch. I know I'm under $20, but even at $18, and this batch makes about just short of 5 gallons. But by the time you rack, I ended up looking at the number there, and I was like at 4.25 gallons. So that's pretty. I'm figuring it's about $4, maybe a little bit more a gallon, $4.50 a gallon. So that's pretty cheap for a good tasting hard cider. But hey, if you like this video, click like. You want to see any more of my episodes of cooking or cider making, or this summertime season, I'm out working on the mill, building things. Hit subscribe. If you don't like the video, hey, click like, don't like. But until next time, this is Matt at Pegtown Pines. Bye.